In this episode,
anybody can get MCS, let's be honest.
Well, I can pick up a screwdriver. I have the motor dexterity to be able to do that.
I think I did one myself. I came out more confused than I went in.
Where's the regulation for the cowboys that are doing the crap work?
I might be slightly unpopular when I come out with this view.
MCS certificate, £38 plus VAT every time we do an MCS certificate.
But we're not pipe monkeys.
Hi and welcome back to the award-winning Homeowners Q&A podcast. I'm your host Mars, and today we're tackling a big question that every heat pump owner or future heat pump owner should care about. Does MCS really guarantee high-quality heat pump installation standards, and does it actually protect homeowners if things go wrong? To break this down, I'm joined by Nigel Day from Energie Solutions, James Clark from Elite Services Group, and Sean Hogan from Aventus Eco. Welcome, guys. Right, so I think one of the biggest things that we hear a lot of from homeowners when they've had a heat pump put in is that either they've had a botched installation or something's gone wrong and the complaints process is broken down. And inevitably they come back to us and say, I went to an MCS accredited installer. I thought that this was going to be the gold standard. I thought that I'd have all the recourse in the world to get my problem resolved. But in reality, I think that isn't actually the case. So they'd be forgiven to think that that was the actual case, because I actually just printed this out from the MCS website. It says that the MCS sets, defines, and maintains the standards for low-carbon energy products, contractors, and their installations, which includes heat pumps, and the MCS is a mark of quality. That's their words. Membership of MCS demonstrates adherence to these recognized industry standards, highlighting quality, competency, and compliance. So, Sean, does MCS genuinely mean high-quality installation standards?
No, I personally don't think so. The way I see it is it's not actually MCS that's looking at you, that's up here in upholding the standards. It's whoever it is, the governing body that you get your MCS from, and how good they are and how thorough they are, and ultimately they're a business. So I'm with the IAA, the Installation Assurance Authority, and that's who does my MCS audits, and they're really good and really thorough. But I do know there is other companies out there that are doing it, and I've seen some of the installations that they have gone and inspected and passed, and they've been really subpar. So, but I don't understand how MCS are then going in and looking at that and saying that's okay or that's fine. I don't know how their system actually works and how they're guaranteeing the work, because they're just dealing with a separate business. I don't deal with MCS direct, if that makes sense. We do get random inspections from MCS. I've never had one yet myself, but I do know a couple of customers that I do servicing for, they've had them. And MCS came out and said this needs changed, that needs changed, and then the customer had to chase the installer to get that stuff done. So I don't think MCS are directly involved with the installer to uphold those standards.
James, what I think Sean mentions is very interesting, because I'm a homeowner. I actually have got no clue how the kind of back end thing of MCS works. So you, as an MCS accredited installer, you have obviously joined up with the MCS. Do they force you to have any kind of training or specific training to try and get you up to a certain point when it comes to heat pumps? We're not talking about solar and batteries, and we're talking today exclusively about heat pumps. Is there any specific low temperature heating courses that they physically force you to go on to trying to, maintain these high standards that they say that they are basically bringing to market?
Yeah, I mean, obviously to obtain your MCS, you have to have a BPEC qualification. There's pre-acquisitions to have that BPEC qualification as well. You invented your water regs, but as we all know, we've all been on them particular courses, and some are not great to say the least. I think I did one myself. I came out more confused than I went in. Luckily, I had quite a bit of experience by that point, and the poor chaps that are around us, their head was spinning by the end of that course and really confused by it. So to answer your question, yeah, you do have to have qualifications to become MCS accredited, but them standards that are put there in the first place and them courses are at the best now.
So, Nigel, you have to have this BPEC accreditation, and we have spoken about this on other podcasts where guys have said that the courses are not really that good. So does having something like Heat Geek or anything like that kind of bring you a little bit more knowledge and competence over and above, what the BPAC course or anything else like that actually gives to an installer?
I've not gone through the Heat Geek process myself on this aspect. I've been there. I've cross-trained effectively into the wet trades from being an electrician. I think a lot of it is down to the contractor and his sense of responsibility. I always say that every day is a school day. I'll never stop learning till the day I give all of this up. We've seen it, I've seen it with the electrical side of things, with the adjustments and the changes to the wiring regs. Sort of the 16th edition would basically say someone that was competent could carry out electrical work. Well, what's the definition of competency? Well, I can pick up a screwdriver. I have the motor dexterity to be able to do that. I have a little bit of knowledge that red goes to red, black goes to black. I'm competent. The regs then change to use the word electrically skilled. Well, I hold my 17th edition wiring regs. I hold my City and Guilds. I hold this. Therefore, I am electrically skilled. I like to use the word competency on the doorstep. That's what every company owner should be looking to do. The guys that are going out are competent. Now, what's the definition of competency? Well, in my mind, the training tells you what you need to do. The knowledge tells you how to do it, but it's only the expertise that actually knows what to do, how to do it, when to do it, when not to do it, and then, oh crap, what happens if it all goes wrong? It's a new industry. We're all learning. We've got to take the responsibility. And then also that responsibility then extends to homeowners and main contractors of the fact that we are not cheap labour anymore. We're not just, excuse the terminology here, I don't know everybody's backgrounds, but we're not pipe monkeys. A heat pump engineer has got to be an electrician, he's got to be a plumber, he's got to be a heating engineer, and he's got to be a refrigerant guy. That's 4 different independent skill sets. The amount of money we spend on training, and we've all spent on training, needs to be reflected, and customers have got to start taking responsibility for these crap jobs when they beat the price down.
James, I'm going to bring this back to you. So you're obviously Heat Geek Elite. I don't know if it's on your sleeve today. It might be.
You've got Nigel at the back. He's got all the banners, hasn't he? I wish I'd have got mine.
You don't want to see what's behind them banners, mate. Trust me.
So James, you are Heat Geek Elite. Nigel touched on the word competence. Does Heat Geek or just general Heat Geek training, does that give you an extended element of competency?
Yeah, 100%. I'd say I'm from that side where I have done them courses. A long time ago, I've done the Heat Geek course and I've done the Kimbo course, and they have definitely raised my standards and our company's standards. As a business, we like to put ourselves on social medias. LinkedIn's very good for that as well. And when you're putting yourself out there, you are holding yourself accountable for comments, criticism, and stuff like that. And I do believe, even though it's not an MCS thing, just putting yourself out there to other installers and customers and stuff like that, that can raise your standards. Picking out, my good friend Damo says all the time, I want people to pick it out. It raises my standards all the time. And when you're taking them photos of the heat pump and the cylinder couple, you're like, is that perfect? Have I done everything perfect? Because it will be ripped to pieces. And the Heat Geek course has been massively beneficial to us at Elite. And the Kimbo course as well is really good. So there is really good courses out there, and they should be recognised more than just a standard BPEC course. Them are the ones that should be going to. Them are the standards, not these other ones. Because you ask anyone, they are tough courses.
James mentions that these there are other courses out there that are a lot more challenging. They definitely do elevate the installer's competence. Obviously, you guys have also done a lot of these extended courses because you want to improve and deliver the best possible job for your customers. So from a homeowner's perspective, and we've discussed this so many times, and the general answer is, you need to vet your install and all the rest of it. But is it a better starting point to, if the guy's just got purely nothing more than MCS accreditation, but he then, or another guy has Heat Geek and and other courses that actually completed, is there a better chance that second installer is going to be better than the first one?
Oh yeah, obviously. What would you do if you were a homeowner? Somebody that's just got MCS or somebody that's got Heat Geek, like James and myself, somebody that's done Kimbo training, James and myself. I've been training recently with Mario from the HVAC club. But ultimately, it comes down to experience. It's how many installs that installer done, because you can go and do all the courses that you want. And as myself, I've never been in the industry as long as, say, for James, for instance. And most of my learning is from hands-on experience and problem solving. You need to be able to go on site and come up against a heating system. Like the other day, I came up against one where you put the heating on, the hot water was going on, and vice versa. And it turned out it was just two wires that were connected the wrong way. That was a brand new install and a brand new bit of kit that I've never done before. And that did about 4 hours of problem solving, as where if you had just come into that and you've never done all these training courses, or you don't have somebody to pick up the phone to as a peer, as I've got quite a few, I'll pick the phone up and I'll say, listen, I'm having a problem with this. I know you install this stuff, any chance you could help me? And I'll get the answers there, and then straight away with a bit of collaboration. If you see somebody, I think, that's got Heat Geek, has done Kimbo training, they're wanting to be better. They're wanting to be a better installer. But anybody can get MCS, let's be honest. It's not that difficult. It's more of annoying that it's a higher cost than it is anything else. If you want to get in Scotland, I think in England as well, if you want to get the grants for the pump, it has to be done by an MCS registered installer. So there is thousands of them out there. It's just about the homeowner doing their due diligence and seeing what this guy does.
The reality is that the guys that aren't on this podcast, or some of the guys that aren't on this podcast, it's not necessarily the standards. That's where the policing has got to kick in. And at the end of the day, you can have all of the standards in the world that you like. If it's not policed and if it's not enforced rigorously and vigorously, it will never work.
I agree with Nigel. Like, we all post photos of our work on all the social media platforms, and I do it deliberately as well, because I'll get private messages. It'll be showing, don't do that, or that should have been fitted this way, blah, blah, blah. Great, thank you. We note taken. Then you'll have your big national companies. There's a few up here in Scotland, primarily do eco work. You might even have some energy companies that are doing work as well, but you'll never ever see them posting their work or anything like that. Even you wouldn't even see Octopus posting their work. As a smaller installer, we're up against the big giants, if you want to call them that. So we have to try and do what we can to set ourselves apart from everybody else. And I feel like that's one of the ways that we can do it, is shown by the quality of work that we are doing and the materials that we're using. So we are more expensive than the wee guy down the roads that's just got his MCS, but we're using the best of valves, the best of expansion vessels, antifreeze valves, you name it, insulation, primary pro insulation, you know all the stuff. So all that comes at a cost. And then I think then that's up to the homeowner to then go, well, I'll pay a wee bit extra for this guy because I know I'm going to get the best kit. It's going to look the best and perform. And ultimately what it comes down to is how much money you're going to save each year with that installation. And then other people are obviously more concerned about how much carbon you're reducing.
Are you thinking about getting a heat pump? Then don't get caught out by a bad installation. Bodgebuster is your essential guide to asking the right questions and spotting red flags before it's too late. Written from real homeowner experience, this book gives you the knowledge to avoid costly mistakes and make informed decisions. Get Bodgebuster today in print or for Kindle, link in the description. James, I think the thing that really took me by surprise is that I've only recently found this out, is that obviously you have to go through an MCS accredited installer to get the boiler upgrade scheme, so you're getting your $7,500, and you can only do that through an MCS accredited installer. What I didn't fully appreciate is that, and maybe you can actually verify this, I was told that it costs anywhere between £1,200 to £2,000 in paperwork for the installer, because it can take up to 4 days to fill up something like 90 plus documents. I don't know how many online submissions. And obviously that is time to your admin team as a business owner. And in some instances, like I said, it adds up to anywhere between £1,200 to £2,000. The £2,000 is more kind of on the umbrella scheme side of things. Is that actually true that, that is a significant amount of money that's just going for paperwork on an installation?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say per job that's the cost there, but there is a substantial cost per job. The physical cost and then the admin time as well is costly. There is better softwares getting out there all the time to make the admin a lot quicker, pre-installation and post-installation. So, them softwares are coming about and making the installer's job a lot quicker and a lot easier. The lives a lot better. The costs are big. They are no two ways about it. A lot more under the potential umbrella schemes, pair MCS installation, they are costly. We show that on our proposals, on our quotes, the MCS package cost kind of thing, whether that's under your Nicky, your rec, your QMS software that you're using and stuff like that. We show that as a handover line item, and the customer needs to see that it's not just the installation; it's part of the quote. Is that admin time is massive.
Was it last year? We were £1,500 for the initial assessment, then £500 for air source heat pump, £500 for solar, £500 for battery, and then we were another £500 for Trustmark. I got Trustmark because some customers get money off their mortgage company for an air source heat pump install, so I quite like that one. Then we're also the initial joining the RACC was around about £500 or £600, and then they're about £280 a year. These are all plus VAT. So yeah, the costs are, and then every single job. So you've got to provide a consumer protection agency. That's who I am with, like an insurance back guarantee. Even though MCS are supposed to provide that. So when we first joined, it was like £600 to join. And then every installation is about £75 that's got to be added onto every single installation. And then as James says, you have to mandatory have a QMS, a quality management system, where you keep everything. And they range from different prices. I think the one we're on is like £800 a year. You get easy MCS, I think is maybe 12 or 1,500 quid a year, I've heard, but I don't use that one. So roughly you're talking, I don't know, £4,000 or £5,000 there straight away.
MCS certificate, £38 plus VAT every time you do an MCS certificate. And then they go, why is this installation so much? And like, geez, if I could like literally go down to every line item, it is crazy.
You can see why sole traders or guys that are fitting boilers every day of the week are not interested in joining the MCS and fitting, installing air source heat pumps. It's too expensive, especially if you're just a one-man band and your cash flow is just what keeps you going each week. Are you going to have to then find the money to invest in all these extra BPEC courses, then pay £4,000-5,000 to MCS? Then it's every single year. So you've got to make sure that you've got that work coming in where you can pay that stuff. So we are constantly getting all these fees every single month, still pay the guys' wages, still run a business. And then as James says, every customer says, why is it costing so much money? We don't need all of this, all these extra costs. We know what we're doing. But if we could just have one person, it's like, why do we have to provide an insurance back guarantee for every single customer? Why can't we just pay a one fee, one company each year and it just covers everything? But it's like anything you do at all to do with MCS or heat pumps, there's a fee, and it's not just a monthly bill, a £70 here. When you first join these accreditations, they're all wanting between £500, £600, £700, £800 just to initially join them to get on their system.
Nigel, these are kind of all just crazy numbers. My head's actually just spinning, just trying to think about, just how many kind of moving parts there are to this. And I think the thing that absolutely blows my mind is that at the end of the day, you guys are going through all this paperwork, all this hassle, all this training. But at the end of the day, there's absolutely no gold standard. There's no guarantee. There's no benchmark for what a good installation looks like. And there's absolutely no recourse, which we'll get onto shortly. Why is it that the MCS fundamentally exists if they're not actually delivering anything quantifiable for the homeowner or the installer?
I do agree with you to a certain extent. I might be slightly unpopular when I come out with this view. I think MCS's role are there to write the standards. I will allude to the fact now that I did years ago, used to freelance 2 days a week to nape it. And I was the guy sat there, the other side of the desk, looking at you guys and assessing your quality management systems and all of your records and everything else in place. And one time I was myself subjected to a spot UCAS inspection on how I was running my assessment process. Even the lady at UCAS said to me, it's not the scheme. You can create thousands of schemes. It's the fact that their policing powers are next to nothing.
The process is really simple, and it would negate like everything that we're talking about. If you just did some simple steps, it'd be like, right, I do a proposal on the design of a heat pump system. That proposal has to be submitted to the MCS. That is what I'm going to propose and design and put in this system at customer's house. So the MCS have got that. Every system needs to be metered. And then when them two things don't meet, then algorithms, AI throw up a notification to every party and say there's something wrong with the system. So that's easily how you increase standards straight away, is responsibility and doing what you're saying you're going to be doing. And the second thing is, in terms of a handover and a commission, we do a commissioning form, fill it out, do it, and then it's in-house, and it's for the customer as well, their handover pack. Why are we not uploading the handover packs and the commissioning documents to the MCS as well? Take a photo of the outdoor unit, take a photo of the lagging, take a photo of the cylinder cupboard, take a photo of 10 photos. And then when they do, the MCS will do a telephone audit to the customer afterwards, after installation. We've had lots of customers saying they're doing that. But with that, they've got physical evidence and pictures in front of them of that standard of installation. So these simple steps can massively whittle out bad installations, bad customers, bad installers, or even just bad customer service as well. Really simple process. Energy metering, that cost needs to come down dramatically, and hopefully it would if every heat pump had metering on it, because that is a huge cost, and that is a big hurdle for putting a metering out at the moment. It's what, £600, £1,000, and that can be the difference between getting a job and not getting a job. So that cost definitely needs to come down. But them simple steps would have the standards really high and everyone accountable straight away. It's really easy.
I have to disagree with you on that, James, and I'll tell you why. So if a homeowner runs into a problem and they contact the MCS because, let's say, the lagging's rubbish, or that there's some sort of plumbing issues, the first thing MCS do is they say, please send us photos. So people do send those photos to them, and then they say, yeah, well, there is a problem here. And then that's where it kind of all falls apart, because now the MCS, as I think Nigel said, don't have the actual powers to actually force you. So let's say, for argument's sake, James, that this is your installation. You've not lagged the exterior pipework particularly well, and the homeowner's complained. The MCS says, well, you need to phone James, ask James to do it. James says, well, that's what I'm prepared to do. I don't want to touch it any further than that. And then that's where it gets stuck, because, the MCS doesn't do anything. I think NAPIT or, one of the other certification bodies will then enter that picture to try and deal with that. But from our experience, and we've dealt with I'll probably say hundreds now of cases where people have complained about physical issues with their system, where they've provided photographic evidence and nobody seems to have the powers to actually get this rectified.
Well, that does get handed down to your consumer code like REC, and that is a neutral point for the customer and the installer to get together and sort out any issues. So that should be the relevant process to do.
The whole MCS complaints process is incredibly flawed because nobody seems to actually want to take responsibility. So you mentioned the consumer code, so you've got HICE and REC. They actually deal with the contractual side of things. So if James has gone and said, I am going to promise you that, I'm going to deliver you a system X, and you haven't delivered that system X, that's when they get involved. But if there's any kind of mechanical, physical issues with that particular system, that then falls onto the certification bodies. And they seem to be equally ill-equipped to actually try and force those installers to just go back and just rectify something that might be simple, that might not be simple, but they can't physically force these guys to go back and rectify these jobs.
That's ultimately where it falls down. But this is the conversation we're having. This is what's showing how the enforcement is ludicrous.
MCS are the main body, right? But ultimately what they do is they're dishing that out to different companies like NAPIT, IAA, whoever else that does it. That's who we pay the money to. So everybody complains to MCS, but MCS then just pass the buck down to somebody that's paying them a fee. So I think that these companies, they should be held more responsible. MCS should be auditing the likes of NAPIT, or I'm just sorry, I know I keep saying them, but just say, right, okay, how many installs have you got under MCS? How many complaints have you got? Right, okay, you're not meeting your target. You're not looking after these guys well enough, or how the process is going. So you need to up your game. Otherwise, we're taking your ability to give MCS away from you. At the start of the year, the IAA, who we are with, they had loads and loads of eco companies working for them, and they were getting loads and loads of complaints. And the director says, right, that's it, I've had enough. And I think it was over the course of a week, they got rid of, it was around about 150 or 200 installers straight away. If you had bad complaints, your insurances weren't up to date, whatever, they just literally sent them all an email and goes, you've lost your MCS. until you rectify that or you get reassessed. And they were quite strict with it because they were revamping the full thing. They were wanting to get it a lot better. As I says, MD can complain to MCS, but ultimately I'm paying the IAA. The IAA is then paying the MCS. Now, if you're, say, the IAA or NAPA, and you've got 30,000 people paying you a fee every single year, are you wanting to get rid of them? Do you get what I mean? At the end of the day, it's a business. Do you want to get rid of these guys? You want to say, no, I'm just cancelling that and I'm not going to get your money off you next year. And then all that happens is the guy just goes to the next company that gives out the MCS and goes and gets it off of them. So where's the regulation for the cowboys that are doing the crap work? Why are they not, as Nigel says, why are these people not being tracked? Right, you are absolutely terrible. Right, you're not allowed an MCS again. But then the issue you've got is it's down to one technical person in the company. It should be directors. Then if they lose their MCS, they're setting up another company and get a new fresh MCS, maybe under somebody else's name. So I know that's quite hard to track, but that is something that's happening, especially in the eco world.
Are you new to heat pumps and feeding lost? Then From Zero to Heat Pump Hero helps you understand, operate and optimize your system. No jargon, just simple practical advice from one homeowner to another. Take control of your heating and save energy. Get your copy now, link in the description. So James, do you think that the boiler upgrade scheme and the grants are actually doing more bad than good for the industry? Do you think that, the grants are actually a positive thing, and then, having to deal with MCS and, all those kind of things? Or do you think that the market should just be a little bit more unregulated and allow the good installers to basically float to the top and remove all the additional costs that actually are associated with, like, for example, an MCS membership?
I think you need the grant. I think you need the grant anyways. I mean, if you take away the paperwork costs, maybe the heat pump costs come down a little bit, you've still got a lot of time and labour and stuff like that. The grant is a labour intensive and a long process for a heat pump. So the grant is there and is absolutely needed to put heat pumps into people's homes at this moment. The grant is a really good thing. I do believe that Ofgem are a lot more on it with the bus grant, whereas before with the RHI scheme, you never used to get phone call audits afterwards or spot checks afterwards. That was massively unregulated, the RHI days. But with it being an upfront £7,500, I do believe that they are on it a lot more than they used to be. But yeah, in terms of the bus grant, it's a massive benefit for the industry. If the bus grant went, I think we would all be going back to gas, maybe. I don't know. That is the reality. Could you do a heat pump install without that grant? Probably not.
Yeah, not many people would, I don't think.
Why is it all these other parties involved? And, we struggle as an installer. Never mind a customer with a complaint. Who the hell do I go to? You should just go to the MCS. If it was a gas problem, you go to Gas Safe. All your costings, all your, third-party companies, all these different costings, gone. Should be MCS, and they should be, you're giving out the standards and giving out the badge, and you've got a MCS for the bus. You've got to be sole regulator.
Nigel, can I sing this back to you? So a little while ago, you said that the one thing that actually MCS is good for is that they help write the standards. But I have gone through their documents, and there's nothing really kind of overly definitive in terms of, what that standard actually is. There's a lot of, I think it's like a 12, 15-page document that tries to say that the heating has to come 100% from the heat pump, but there's nothing hugely specific in that documentation. So could you just elaborate on what you think that these standards that they write actually encompass, and should they be going further to help actually benchmark what a proper system should look like?
I think they absolutely should definitely benchmark what a good system, a good installation looks like. Let's write a standard of this is, you will do this. What does following the manufacturer's instructions mean? Well, come on, manufacturers, tell us what it means. It means this.
Sean, do you think that the actual MCS standards are actually sufficient? Or, Nigel was saying, do you get a document that you will? I don't think installers actually necessarily like that too. So, where do you sit in terms of the balance between the current existing standards and where they could potentially be?
The standards are there for a reason, and everybody needs them. So if everybody follows the standards, the idea is it will be a good installation. So I do agree with them being there. I do agree with MCS as the whole ethos of it is what it's meant to be, right? But as Nigel touched on, it's so difficult to say what is a good installation and what is a bad one. For instance, everybody was using certain circuit breakers. Valiant then turned around and in their manufacturer's instruction says, right, for a Valiant heat pump, it's got to be a Type B RCD. That's fine. Compared to a normal RCD, a Type B is like 120 quid, right, for one that will go in like a fuse box. Then, for instance, Hager, the company that makes RCDs, jumped on it and goes, all right, we've got this fancy new RCD just for heat pumps, blah, blah, blah. You've got to go and buy it. This big chunky thing. Oh, that's great. Brilliant. How much is that? 200 odd quid, right? And that's what we are now being told, or being, this is like pressure. You should be using this one. This is the best, blah, blah, blah. Antifreeze valves, I've had this discussion. Some manufacturers will say you can use antifreeze valves or you can use glycol. Then the instruction manuals, Nigel says something completely different. Now, I've had this out with Valiant and Panasonic, and they're conflicting. But Damon says he spoke to the head of Valiant, and you don't need any antifreeze valves whatsoever or glycol, because if the unit freezes, you're not covered anyway, even if you did have antifreeze valves on. So it's like, well, what do we do then? Do we fit antifreeze valves? Do we not? Do we put glycol on it, or do we not? Because antifreeze valves, a kit with insulation jackets and snorkel, 250 quid. Now, I fit them in all my installs. I think they're a good thing. They look great and it's an added protection. But if I then posted a picture up where a customer seen that I don't fit them, they'd be like, well, he doesn't fit them. But it's £250 extra in your cost might fill. So where do I stand in that? Because nobody can cover it. Another thing with antifreeze valves is there's two main market leaders that fit them. I asked for the data sheets recently on both of them. One of the data sheets says that the antifreeze valve should not be fitted with insulation, right? Because it affects the performance of the wax melting part inside it that makes it open, right? Then I've got the other manufacturer, who are well known, have said that it must be fitted with a primary pro insulation jacket, because under Part L building regulations, which is England, it doesn't really affect us up here, but MCS also stated as well that all exterior pipework for a heat pump installation must be insulated. Antifreeze valve is after the heat pump, so as far as I'm concerned, that's your external pipework. So I've got two conflicting bits of information there. So who's telling me where I'm right or wrong, and should the customer be paying for antifreeze valves or not? Then if you fit a glycol, it reduces the system's efficiency, but it's all landed on us as the installer to try and figure this out, put it on LinkedIn, have debates, or speak to each other, or phone each other. What's the right way of doing this? But still try and keep the cost down, because I feel like every time some new regulation comes out or fancy new bit of kit, it's 200 or 300 quid. And that's what you have to use. And people wonder why installations are expensive when you're doing them right.
James, I love what Sean said. He said, what does a good installation look like? If the MCS or the government was to come to James and Elite Services Group and they said, you need to create a benchmark for us, what does a good installation look like? Would you be able to actually provide them with what a good heat pump installation genuinely is?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think our installations are really top notch, but yeah, I suppose it's all down to opinion again, isn't it? We use press fit fittings, whereas another person goes, nah, I like to solder it. They're absolutely fine together. I think MCS make a foundation of a baseline of what is a good, is an installation. But after that, yeah, I mean, I suppose it's all what people's perception is, what looks good, neat, what doesn't look good, looks neat. But that comes back to metering as well. Metering, I do believe, and I will bang that drum of metering, because you can have pipework all over the place, not looking very neat, but a good efficiency. Something really looking really neat, and bad efficiency because they put the wrong settings on it. And what looks neat and what's doing the job, it's two different things. But yeah, I definitely agree with what Sean's saying. Is these added components and stuff like that. If you put on everything that they want you to put on, it's a lot. It's starting to be a lot of money.
I also think they should raise the minimum efficiency. So I think, what is it, 350% or 320% MCS say it's got to meet. But even if you go on Open Energy Monitoring Group, there's some installations in there that are lower than that. I've seen when you try and work out the settings on some eco jobs, you're talking 2.1, 2.5. And then that as you say, James, that tells you straight away something's not right here. This thing's costing a fortune to run.
I don't think MCS specifies a base COP.
It's on the MCS accreditation of the kit, isn't it? That the kit must be able to achieve a minimum seasonal coefficient of performance of, I thought it was 3.4 somewhere.
I'll double check on it and get back to you, but I was pretty sure MCS says that installation must meet a yearly scope of 350%, 340%.
It's education for everyone, isn't it? It's education for the customers, for the installers. It is just, at the moment, it's a fledgling industry. It's a growing industry. It's one that's attracting grants, which is always going to attract the get me rich quick brigade.
That's where I do believe that MCS are better. I mean, look at the solar days that we used to have, back in the day, everybody was on the solar days. There was, I hate the terminology, but cowboys out there everywhere, and that's why they cut it. There's the rinse the pot. It was an absolute shit show for the language. These hurdles are better. I think it's good to have these bad head. You have to have your your BPEC. You have to have this. You have to have that. Or you have to be an umbrella scheme or something like that. It stops people not really be bothered with this and get rich quick. Going, if they don't care, they won't go through these processes. And I do believe it does whittle out some bad installers in the first place. I think it is it's much better than the solar days that used to go on. Geez, miles better.
If you've got any questions about heat pumps, then you need to join the Renewable Heating Hub forums. You can connect with other homeowners, share experiences, and get advice on heat pumps and renewables. Sign up today and be a part of the conversation. Link in the description. So that's it for today's episode. A huge thank you to Nigel, James, and Sean for their honest insights and giving homeowners a peek behind the certification curtain. If you found this episode useful, hit subscribe, tell a friend, and join the conversation over at renewableheatinghub.co.uk. And while you're there, give Watson, our AI chatbot, a go. And if you haven't already, pre-order your copy of The Ultimate Guide to Heat Pumps, our new book that's packed with expert advice and everything you need to make informed, confident decisions about your heat pump journey. Link in the description. Until next time, stay warm, stay green, stay tuned. Goodbye.